Welcome to LollieTasking. I invite you to join me and other amazing and inspiring women discussing our passion, work, discovering our purpose, interesting topics, and how we seem to have it all together. I hope we can motivate you and show you you can do it too, with some planning, a little bit of balance, and a dash of determination. This is LollieTasking. Welcome to another inspiring episode of LollieTasking. I am your host, Dr. Lola, a physician mom of three, work-life balance strategist, founder and creator of the Productive Mompreneur High Performance and Growth Course and Club. On episode 25, we discussed money matters and how it affects women and how women should take charge of their money. So reach out to me and ask me how to teach your children about money. This is why we are going to talk about raising financially conscious children on today's episode. You asked, guys, and you have received. On today's show, we have with us Dr. Latifat, also known as our MoneyFitMD, who is also a practiced gastroenterologist in California. She's a mom of three beautiful ladies. She's also a certified coach with an emphasis on money and mindset, helping women transform their mindset, relationship, and money, and limiting beliefs, actually, that is blocking their financial success. Her dream is that every single woman would have money, live well, spend well, so they can live life and practice medicine or whatever they want to do on their own terms. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Dr. Latifat to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here today.
I'm excited to be here. You. Thank you for being here. We're so excited to jump into it. But before we get started, let's talk a little bit about having a productive morning, guys. Okay. So people always talk about, I want to be productive. And I always say it always starts with the morning. So here are some few tips that can help you have a productive morning. The first thing you need to do is prepare the night before. So everybody know I have three young kids. They have a lot of things to do. I have only three kids, guys. Pre-COVID, my kids had so many after-school activities and things that had to be done, homework, 3 different grades. So what do we do before? We put all your homeworks in your folder, in your backpack. Any after-school activities that had to be done was in the car already. That way, in the morning, we don't have to worry about it. Then the next thing you need to do is sleep. Restful brain is very important. And not only do you need to sleep, you have to set the best bedtime. You have to have a good quantity of sleep, y'all. I don't believe in that, 4 hours gets me on. No. You need to sleep right, guys. And you have to have a good quality of sleep. Remove distractions. Don't have beeping sounds or your phone next to you. The third thing I want you to think about in the morning is before everybody wakes up, you need to take care of yourself first. I always say self-care is not selfish, it's self-full, okay? Because when you are full, then you have enough to pass around. And your self-care should always include a mind routine, a body habit, and something to replenish your soul. The number 4 thing you need to do is after you've had an amazing morning routine, you need to plan your day, okay? You can't go to anywhere without a direction. It's like me trying to go to a new place and say, I'm just going to wing it. Let's not wing our days, guys. Plan what you want in a day. Make sure you have your top 2 or 3 important things that you must accomplish that day and get focused precisely on your goals. And then the last thing to have a productive day is the right attitude. You are what you think you are. If you already think you're going to have a horrible day, guess what? You're going to have a horrible day. If you think you're going to have a productive day, guess what? You're going to have a productive day. Even though you get a little comma on the side or people try to mess you up, you're like, no. I said I will have a productive day, and then I definitely will. So let's recap. Prepare the night before, sleep, have an amazing morning routine, plan, and have a right attitude. So what do you think, Dr. Latifat? What is one thing that you say has helped you have a productive morning?
What I do is I calendar. Every Sunday, I sit down. I'm a busy mom of three kids, GI doc, money coach. I sit down and I write down everything I want to accomplish that week. And then I distribute it on a calendar so that no one day is overwhelming. And I tell myself that I have to commit to doing what's on my calendar. So on a day, it may be as simple as scheduling a doctor's appointment for the kids. Another day could be recording 3 or 4 videos for myself. And guess what? By Friday, most things are done. So that's been very
Yeah,
helpful for me.
exactly. For me, I always tell people, listen, if it's not on the calendar, it's probably not happening. So
Ain't gonna happen.
ain't gonna
Right.
happen. All right. You guys can already tell it's about to be a fantastic conversation. All right. So, speaking of calendar, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became known as the Money Fit MD?
Yes, yes. So I'm Dr. Latifat. I'm a GI doc. I finished fellowship about 5 years ago, and at that point, I knew zero about money. Like seriously, the idea of a 401k gave me like palpitations, increased heart rate. And I'm like, I'm smart, right? Like a lot of us, I'm intelligent. So this has nothing to do with how smart I am. But what I found out was that I literally had some mental blocks that was preventing me from going into my money life. So at that point, we had a lot of debt and we had to dig ourselves out of the debt. We had to start doing the things most people do, which is learn about organizing your money, know where exactly your money is going, create some sort of budget, although I'm not a huge budgeting person. And then what I found was that even though I was making dents in the things that I was trying to do, I found out that it was not going as fast as I needed it to be. It just felt like a struggle in my body. And that's when I started doing more of a coaching and life coaching stuff, where I found out that actually, when it comes to money, it's almost never about the money. It's about our relationships with ourselves. It's about what we think about ourselves. It's about the baggage and the money stories that we brought from when we were little, and we've carried on through our lives. So that's when I started digging more into the importance of coaching and life coaching and really delving into your relationship and your limiting thoughts about finances and money. So that's how my transformation in my life started. And then what I started noticing was I started talking to people more about money and finding that the challenges were actually not unique. The actual problem may be unique, but the whole general idea of that relationship with self, relationship with people, relationship with money, and that's what I've been doing more of. And it's been amazing seeing people transform, not just about their money life, but their relationships transform because we talked about their money. So it's been great. It's been
Mhm.
so awesome.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness, that is fantastic. So, speaking of money beliefs, I know you said you didn't know a lot after fellowship, excuse me. After fellowship, you didn't know a lot. However, you knew or did not know anything, right? Because like your parents probably did or did not talk to you about money, right? So I just
Absolutely.
want to know, everything really starts from what we learn and what we teach. And since we're talking about basically how to have a conscious a money conscious child or children, I want to know like what kind of money information did you know growing up or did you not know growing up?
So the money information I knew from growing up was go to school, study hard, become a doctor, make money. That's it, right? That was the
Yes.
only intentional learning that I got.
Mhm.
Everything else was unintentional. And that's the thing. So when I talk to people about money stories, right, I think about it as like this intertwined rope where it consists of things that we've learned. And it's almost like a DNA loop, right? Now imagine if there's been unconscious thoughts, unconscious words, unconscious beliefs that's been strapped in from when we were younger. So for me, it was a lot of scarcity. It was like money is hard, right?
Mhm.
You don't talk about money. Money is the root of evil. You talk about money doesn't grow on trees. That
Mhm.
was a huge part of it. And also, as someone that was more responsible when it came to family responsibilities, there was that unspoken term of you don't necessarily spend money on yourself,
Mm. Oh my gosh.
right?
Can you say that one more time? Did we have the same family? Can you
Maybe we should compare birth certificates and make sure we don't
right?
have the same parents, right? You don't
Right.
spend money on yourself. And what ends up happening is you either not spend money at all on yourself or you spend money on yourself and feel guilty about it. right? So it ends up being a chaotic mess. But those were the unintentional money beliefs, the unconscious money beliefs that we learned when we're growing up. So when I became an adult, I didn't know anything about money, right? I was scared about money. I didn't want to talk about money. I had a lot of guilt about money. I wasn't spending money the way that I truly, truly wanted to spend it, the way that I felt was honoring to my values. So those were all the things that I had to unlearn and relearn what is now serving me better in my life.
That's awesome. So one question I have though, I see at least our generation more talk to their children about, okay, entrepreneurship or planning or, so did you guys ever had times maybe growing up where at the dinner table or anything your parents even mentioned?
Mm-mm, no.
No.
No, no. I mean, I have six siblings, so dinner table was like dinner corners. Y'all just, y'all just ate, just ate
Wherever you can get
wherever
it.
you can, just eat somewhere, just eat, right? So no, we didn't have conscious money conversations. The only conversations we had was really when money was tight or when there was a need for money, right? But there was no abundance in terms of how those needs were being met.
Right, right.
That didn't come up in conversations at all.
So before you got into, money coach, I think it's always important to learn the history, right? How did you relate to your children with the prior mindsets that you had?
I related to my children the exact way my parents taught me to. The
Mm,
exact way. And that's the thing. And when it's unconscious, we always talk about, we haven't even started having these conversations. You actually are, you just don't know it.
yeah.
Right? Because the way that we model our lives, like when I go to the store with my kids, it's like, oh, we can't afford that. My kids actually for a while thought we were poor because it's like, oh, we can't afford that, right, mommy? We cannot. That was the message, right? That's how you teach your kids about money, to not waste money, is by telling them there isn't money. So that's
Right.
what I was doing as well. And then when I became more conscious, the conversation's totally, totally been transformed.
So now that you're conscious, like how do you teach them? For example, maybe you really can't afford it. Like what are the kind of conversations you have with your children? And what are some intentional things you do to kind of get them out of that money scarcity mindset?
So it's similar to what I do in adults, and I remind people that what we do translates into what our kids do. So I know I mentioned all of that I'm not a huge like spreadsheet budget person. I prefer spending plan, and I go by value based spending. So that is something that's easier for kids to grasp. So value based spending, the fact that we have the money doesn't mean we have to spend it on that.
Right.
Did we plan to spend the money on that? So, for example, if we go to the store, Target or whatever store that is, the fact that it's there, it's like, oh, one Mary, I want this. Is this? Oh, we didn't plan to buy that, right? We came here to buy this, and we can buy that, or we can buy this because it's not like we don't have the money, but we're choosing to spend the money on other things. And this is the amount that we said we're going to spend on Target. And then their brains start to roll about comparing and really being able to say which one has more value, what we wanted to buy or what we want to buy. And that simple brain rolling, I find it more productive for kids than the restrictive, but we don't have. Like we want
We don't
them to
have
get
the
the
money.
power of choice. We want them when
Mm-hmm.
they're grown up, we want them to be able to go to a store and not spend all their money on like 50 cents cookies instead of actually buying like,
The
whatever it is
Target
they're supposed
aisle,
to buy the Target aisle.
the one
Right?
dollar Target aisle.
Yeah, yeah. It's like 20 pieces of junk versus like one good quality stuff that's gonna last them a long time. So we're trying to teach them value based spending.
I love that. I feel like I probably do something similar, but I never really thought of it as value based. We were joking earlier that my daughter said, we're broke because she keeps comparing us to some other folks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I had to let her know that no, we're not broke. We don't have this certain car because it is not in our plan to have that certain car. When it
Mm-hmm.
becomes in our plan, then we will have that certain car, you
Yep.
know?
Yep. Yep.
So, and she was like, oh, okay. And also teaching them, like, I talk about spirituality a lot with our kids and the importance of God and what God wants us to use money for and things like that. So I think starting early is amazing, right? Another thing I always say to people is like, kids, and this is for almost everything, and I love that you pointed that out, that kids don't learn what you say or don't say. They look at you and they emulate what you do. Um, so besides using value-based learning, what are some things moms can do that can help their kids emulate good behavior for them as well? Because if you have good money values, your kids are going to have good money values.
Yep. So there was this one study, and I'm going to be paraphrasing. I believe it was done at Stanford like back in the 70s or so, where they looked at kids and trying to get the difference between instant gratification versus like long-term benefits. And what they actually did was they offered kids and said, I'm going to offer you this thing. If you wait for a longer period of time, I will give you something of more value,
Mm,
right? And what they found was that the kids that were able to hold out and not, I think it was a food or like a snack or something, but the kids that were able to hold out, sort of like thinking about that long-term benefit as opposed to instant gratification, were actually more likely to be successful in future, which was
mm,
interesting. So we can teach our kids the importance of not necessarily always gorging on short-term benefits, short-term gratification, right? And part
right.
of that feeds back into things like compounding interest and the value of investing, right?
Mm,
When you teach your kids, oh, you could have $1 right now, but if you take that dollar and let it build up, it can actually become $10 in future.
mm-hmm,
Those
mm-hmm,
are things that their kids may not get it, and kids are different. Your kids may not understand it, but it starts to become part of their money story, where they start to keep in mind the fact that, okay, I can have money, money can grow. That's another
right.
abundance. Like money can grow. $1 today is not going to be $1 next week. It can grow, right? And also the idea of retirement. I don't think we talk to our kids about it, right? Because the thing is, our kids are looking at the Joneses, right, that are driving their whatever fancy lifestyle they have. And the bottom line is, our kids don't get why we're not indulging in everything. Not that you can
Right.
indulge in some things, but you can't indulge in everything. So it's an appropriate conversation you can have with kids where you say, we don't plan on working forever. When you have grandkids, we want to be able to hang out with grandkids. But what that
Mm-hmm.
means is, of the money we have now, we have to let some of it grow so that in future we don't necessarily have to spend time or effort with working.
Right.
And it's like,
Right.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
that makes
You
sense.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that works even for you, like your work, like this is why mommy works, right? That way,
Absolutely.
when you're older on the weekends, we can have this time together. Because, kids, like, they don't spell love as things, it's the time you spend with them. And I think they understand that a little bit more better. So let's go into more practicality, right? I think mindset is everything, which is why I started with the mindset question. So, what are some practical things that kids can do, or you can do for kids to start teaching them money issues or being conscious with money?
Number one is just talking about it so that it's not such a taboo, right? At the dinner table, while you guys are talking, let them know about how much things cost. And it's not a matter of having like a book chapter that they're going through. It's just easy conversations about, yeah, I bought this and it was more expensive or cheaper than I thought. It was this amount, it was this amount. And also letting kids have money from a young age, right? Because when you let them have money in a young age, you can actually help them structure it where they're like, you talk together with them and you decide what percentage they want to save, what percentage they want to spend, what
Mm-hmm.
percentage they want to give, and what percentage they want to see grow.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing growing could be like investing in something, or it could also be investing in the bank of the parents,
Right.
depending on what their age is, where you're like, okay, if you put this money in here, it's going to be used for other things. And in 2 months from now, you'll be getting $2 instead of $1. That's teaching them about passive investment. That's teaching them about growing their wealth in a passive way so that it's not all about the daily grind.
Awesome. Are there any kind of apps or books you recommend moms use?
Yeah, it's funny because I think we were talking before this, and I'm like, yeah, we don't, our kids we restrict screen time. So we don't necessarily use like app-based stuff, although those things exist. But they're absolutely books. I know a lot of people tend to like Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey has a smart money
Mm-hmm.
program for kids. Another program or money educational platform that I love is Clever Girl Finance.
Okay.
She has resources for parents on how to teach about money, how to talk about money. So I definitely recommend her. There is another book that I like, which is called Money Monsters.
Hmm.
Yes, it's written by a female, an African American lady. So definitely go out there and support her. But I love the practicality that she had in that book as well.
Okay. This is awesome. I'm gonna write all this down and put it in the show notes for people who want to look into these books. What is your thought on allowance?
I think that allowance is important. It
Hmm.
is important because that's when you get to teach your kids how to control money at a young age. And you
Right.
literally tell them that they can buy. You can Money is a gift from God. You
Hmm.
can spend it. You want to be a good steward of it, but you can
Right.
spend it. God is not mad when you spend it. You can give. Like if your kids are if they're seeing needs that need to be met, they see a homeless person, it's great to have allowance for them where they're like, I can use my money for good. That's
Right.
what we want to teach our kids. We don't want to teach them that they can have money, they can spend money. You don't trust them with money. So once you
Right.
decide what categories with them, what they spend their spending money on is up to them. You can guide them so they can think about value, but absolutely, absolutely allowance at a young age. I'm very, very pro that. But as they get older, start to let them think of ways of making money themselves, right? Like we
Hmm.
have chickens. Our chickens lay eggs. Our kids are already in line. They're like, "Mommy, we're gonna sell eggs in front." I mean, I'm too busy giving away all the chicken eggs for now,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
But my kids are
You're
already
giving it
waiting.
away. Your kids
Like,
are like, "Mommy,
yeah,
listen."
I'm like, yo, let me finish giving to all my people, and then we can
Right.
talk, all right?
Exactly.
But that's the
Exactly.
point. You want them to start thinking, not so they can become money hungry, but so they can know that money can be made and that there is money.
All right. So as far as allowances, so you concluded what you were saying, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So for me, allow initially, believe it or not, because I didn't have allowance growing up, I was very against allowance. I was like, my kids are never gonna have allowance, and da 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 da. And then I realized that my daughter didn't understand the value of money. So for the same reason, was actually why we started allowance for our daughter. And we actually started when she was in first grade. So in first grade, she got $1 a week. And with that dollar a week, there's an app. It's called Rooster Money. Y'all better like support my show. There's an app called Rooster Money. And on that app, you do like a yearly subscription. And I can, when she does all the things she's supposed to do for the week, she gets a minimum amount. When she goes above and beyond, she gets a certain amount. And the most you can get in a week is $1. Okay.
Hmm.
But here's the catch. We did not tie the allowance to chores.
Hmm.
We tied it to their schoolwork. So they have a memory verse they have to learn every week in school. They have a spelling words they have to learn. They have math drills they have to learn. And each of those things is a certain amount of that allowance. So for example, um, spelling. She has 15 spelling words now, but back then, first grade, I think it was 10 in first grade. She had 10 spelling words at that time, and if she got all 10 spelling words, and I think spelling was like maybe 20 cents because it was like multiple different things. If she got all 10 spelling words, she got her 20 cents. Anything more than 8, she got her 20 cents. If she got less than 8, she got 10 cents. You
That's
know,
funny. Hmm.
and believe it or not, like she always looked forward to it. And so she has a certain she had to spend, she had a certain she had to give, and we use that to also teach her tithing, the importance of
Hmm.
tithing. A certain she had to tithe, and she had a spend amount that went into Christmas gift. And she
Mm.
was so happy when she went shopping for grandma and her aunties. And even though I think at the end of the yeah, she probably had like maybe 30, but it wasn't like anything, significant. But let me tell you, my mom appreciated the $5 gift she got from her because it was her
Her
money.
money.
So I
Yes.
think and we started very young with her, and like when my youngest gets into first grade, so we start at first grade because I think that's just the age that I could really start to show them. So I think things like that are important. And if in your family chores are what it is, then that's perfect. For me personally, I'm like, listen, you don't pay me to cook for you, I'm not paying you to clean.
Yep.
That was
Yep.
my mentality.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, I
you
agree
know,
with you. We don't associate it with chores as well. And we don't do academics. And the only reason why we don't, we try to separate it. And the reason why is part of the thing about money is we all have so much emotional attachment to money because we're attached to certain things. And the other limiting stuff that I hear a lot about is you have to work hard. I mean, there's importance of grit and perseverance, but I want them to learn that outside of money because that doesn't
mm,
necessarily correlate with money. So it's like you got to do your just because you're part of this family, you have to do your schoolwork because that's
right.
what we do. We show up, we succeed, we fail, we try, and we try again. Like that's great. But I
Right.
try to separate them. And the reason why I recommend that people do that is I want them to know that they can work hard at anything, but they
Mhm.
don't have to make money at that thing.
So do you tie giving them money with anything though? Is there
No,
anything?
no,
So they just get an allowance just because they're cool?
no, because we're teaching them the value of spending. It's a
I
lesson
mean,
that we are
because you're
teaching them.
cool too, right?
I mean, I'm not necessarily describing myself as cool, but I'll take that.
No, I mean, well, you're cool. I'm talking about the kids because the
My
kids are cool. You're cool too.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. Yeah, so that's the thing. I try because a lot of times what I see in adults is we have all this emotional attachment to money.
I hear you.
And I just want us to money is just a tool that we've been blessed with to use, to give, to spend, to bless, to create the world that we want. And it's just as simple as that. It's not me. It's not what I do in medicine. It's not what I am as a mom. And my goal is to try and help our kids separate that.
All right. I may be because of some money trauma, but we're gonna work on that. Ah, okay, so I really want to learn this because I feel sometimes you learn best from not your success, but your failures. So, what is the biggest money mistake you've made, and how did that affect you, and how has that impacted what you teach your children as well?
Absolutely. So for us, when we bought our first home, it was during training, during fellowship. And what we did was we didn't know anything about money. So I didn't even have 401k then. So my husband did have 401k and we withdrew from his 401k to use as part of our down payments for our primary single family home residence, which now that I'm more money savvy, definitely wouldn't do that again. If I'm going to be taking out, and I'm not against taking out from a 401k for to diversify your income or
Right.
your sources of income. So if I was to take that money again, we could have and we may have, but it would not be towards a single family home that we were the only ones living in. It may be for like a multi-family home where
Or
we're
some sort of
living in
investment.
one. Exactly, exactly. So that was one of the mistakes that we made. But, we realized that mistake is part of our journey. And every time you fight the past, you lose 100% of the time. So we
Right.
don't think too much about it. It is what it is. We made the best choice then, and now we've learned and we're moving forward. So that is not something directly that I can teach my kids right now, right this second. But
Mhm.
I think that, again, detaching money and teaching my kids how to make money so they can live a life of purpose in whatever it is they want to do, regardless of whether that thing makes money or not, because they can work hard as a teacher, but can still make money outside teaching,
Right.
right? So
Exactly.
that's a teaching
Exactly.
point from that.
That's true actually. And with the 401k thing, I feel like money, the reason why a lot of women run away from money is just because like you said, it just seems so much harder than it is, to be honest. And for children, they just see money as okay, we use it to buy something, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day when we were younger, we saw physical money. Now, like my kids are like, let's just use your card. The never ending swiping of cards.
Yeah.
Um, but with that being said, like, do you have a financial planner? I mean, a financial planner or coach or something? And what do you recommend for people?
So I don't have a financial advisor right now. We had in the past, but when we started learning about money, we realized that it wasn't making the best decisions for us. It was making decisions that were in his favor. And I like to point out to people the difference between a money coach versus a financial advisor. Some financial advisors will have more of an umbrella thing where they do help you with all of your money, including how to budget. But in general, most of them don't make money from that. So they would rather focus on the investment piece where they make money. So what a money coach does is a money coach works with you. It could be one-on-one or in a group setting. And the goal is to help you with identifying those reasons why women don't are afraid of talking about money, right?
Mm,
Because it's never about money. It's about the
right.
beliefs about what they think about money. So we go one on one, figuring out what those things are. And it's interesting because there was a lady that I actually, I think we have like one or two more sessions. But this lady, first time I met her, she was hoping that she would win the lottery or someone else would come and pay off her student debt. And she's like, my money is a mess right now. I don't even know what I have. I'm not saving for
Mm,
any retirement. And you will be amazed. I mean, this is a very intelligent physician. So it's nothing to do with knowledge. It's more of
mhm,
those limiting thoughts and those fears. We worked together for, I believe, about 5 weeks. And guess what? After 5 weeks, I mean, we still have like two more sessions. She's texting me in between in session. She's like, I went to my accountant. This is what I'm doing. Can you help me? Should I do a solo 401k or a SEP IRA? Like now she's on steroids. She's like, oh my goodness,
wow.
I feel so money fit. So the reason why I bring that up is that's what a coach does. A coach helps
Mhm,
empower you, helps you
right.
identify those things between the point A and point B you're trying to go so that you can do it yourself. And then you can
Mhm,
now hire. So for example, we're going to hire a financial advisor next year where we're it's going to be fee based, and what we want them to do is look at our investment and make sure that we're in line with what we want to be. So I'm not anti financial advisors, but I do think that most times when people think about financial advising, what they actually need is a money coach because they're looking for someone to help them have a better hang and ownership and take pride of their money so they can learn anything.
Yeah, and I think financial advisors are good in that sometimes they help you have an idea of the things you may need to be doing, like even
Mm-hmm.
like seeing the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
But just like anything, you just have to know the best one that works for you. I personally don't like the commission-based ones too. I'd rather just, pay my fee and we discuss one-on-one. And I think it's very important. I always teach the importance of mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
You could have your bestie mentor, you could have your teacher mentor, and then you have your coach mentor. And
Mm-hmm.
I actually think all three of those are very important. It's good to ask your other mom friends what they're doing, right? It's good to hire someone, a teacher, even a quote unquote a financial advisor is not a teacher, but they kind of sort of are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's good to hire a coach that will train you because what you don't know, you don't know. When we
Absolutely.
had Dr. Yeye come and she talked about they had a financial advisor, and just like you said, that person was not making the best decision for her
Mm-hmm.
personally, right? It may have worked for other people, but a lot of times it was more of a cookie cutter umbrella approach and it just wasn't working for her. So if you at least have a baseline education on it. I don't care if you're hiring someone or if you're going to a coach. I always recommend read first or learn first. And in the days of busy mom, audible first. I'm all about the audible.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then that way you at least have that baseline stuff. So as far as your children, we talked earlier about them wanting to start a business.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
how
Mm-hmm.
is that going?
Well, I told them to come up with a name. My kids are always trying to figure out how to make money.
Right.
And I think it started when 2 years ago, was it 2 or 3 years ago, I wanted to go to Disney World. We wanted to go to Disney World, and it was sort of like thinking about our budget for Disney World, how much did we want to spend in Disney World, and we talked about how we wanted them to actually raise money for it, so they would go to their aunties and figure out what they can do for their aunties to make money. So it's sort of like, can I help you lay your bed? Can I clean your shoes? Can I help, like whatever. So what I liked about that is it was opening up their mind to the ideas of what can I do, how can I be helpful, how can I be useful. So now with their egg selling business, I mean, COVID has slowed that down because I don't want, them standing outside and getting
I
half
hear
done.
you.
But for sure, we still plan on doing it. They have how much they want to charge for the eggs. They already know what they want to call it, and they're gonna make their money, and they're gonna spend some, save some, give some, and we're gonna help them grow some.
I love it. And I love the empowerment of it, right? And I love the idea that your children can come up to you and be like, "Mommy, I think we should make money of it. Why are you giving away money?"
Yes.
You know?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I still
yeah.
have this memory of a time I asked my mom to start a business when I was in middle school then. Yeah, middle school. And she was like, "Girl, go read your books," in our native language. It was like,
Yeah.
"About look at where,
Okay,
I
where?
was like, look at where. And I was so hurt. My
Yeah,
dad is an entrepreneur, so I think that's why I get that,
that's
from.
great.
But I was just like, seriously? And I still bring it up to today. I'm like, Mom, if you had let me start that business, I could have retired you already.
Or not. Or broke,
Or
or made her
not.
broke.
Or not.
Yes.
But no, I really love the fact that you're encouraging them. So we could talk forever, but we got to round this up. Is there anything else you wanted to mention about money consciousness in children and how you can help our kids be more conscious if or anything we didn't touch on?
Absolutely. I think the like a lot of stuff that you talk about, we as parents can definitely be examples to our kids. But I also think that sometimes parents take that and become overwhelmed by it and want to make every single moment a learning point or a teaching point. It doesn't have to be. The fact that you're already taking this information from unconscious to conscious, you are already winning, right? Those are things that our parents, they're just building our blocks without them even knowing they're building their blocks. So the
Mhm.
moment that you're like, okay, I'm going to be conscious about this, you're doing way better than a lot of families are doing when it comes to money. So be kind to yourself. If there's anything I'm going to share with parents, be kind to yourself. It's easy to preach. Our kids don't need our preaching. They want us to live by example. So the transformation starts with the parents and then it goes
Mhm.
down into the kids. So don't judge yourself. Be kind, find their resource, and ask for help. We're here to
Love
support you.
that. I love that. All right. Before, in a minute, I want you to tell us a little bit about your business in detail. But before we get into that, I want to ask a quick roundup question. So, we know you are a busy gastroenterologist, and you have a thriving coaching business, and you have three beautiful daughters. How do you balance it all?
Calendaring. On my calendar are days when I don't do my business,
Mhm.
right? And also, I believe in quality. The same thing that I like conscious living, the quality of your money and what you spend on. I believe on quality of time. It's not about quantity, it's quality of time. If all you have is 30 minutes, put down your phone and let your kids sink you in. Like,
Mhm.
let them spend that quality, that depth of time. That even though it's 30 minutes, it feels like 2 hours. And I'm not going to lie to you, that literally is the secret to this, right? When
Mhm.
I most times I don't come home till about 6 o'clock from work, and my kids they go to bed around 8:30. So between those 2 hours, those time, we get to swallow each other. Like we get to cook together, we talk about their day, we dance, we work out, we go for a walk. We just they don't even know I'm not there. Right. So they're
Mhm.
like, Mommy spends so much time with us because
Right.
quality is so much better than so much more important. If we can have both, yes, fine. But you could also be a stay-home parent, which nothing wrong with being a stay-home and not spend any time with them, right? So keep
Preach
that in
it.
mind. Keep
Preach
that
it.
in
I
mind.
always say you can be present and not be in the presence of
Amen.
them.
Amen.
Okay?
Amen.
Like there are a
Amen.
lot of present people, but
Amen.
they're not in the presence of their kids. And the kids know this. But yes, that's another podcast, y'all.
Yeah. And the one more thing I was going to add to that is keep in mind that if you're someone that's in a relationship, if you're married, your marriage is so important, right? No matter how conscious you're trying to be, if things are not going well in the home, it can make it hard for you to succeed at anything. So, part of my success and part of everything that I do is because my spouse and I, it's a work in progress, but we are very intentional about spending time together. So, every Friday, we have to have a lunch date without the kids, and that is also part of how we're able to improve our communication so that it trickles down into the kids. So that's so important to me.
I love, 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 love that. So those are one of the biggest pillars in the Productive Mompreneur High Performance course. In our course two, the first thing is yourself. And in our course two, we talk about falling back in love with your person, your best friend. And it's so funny because like when I was doing the course, my husband's like, "What about us?" I'm like, "I got you, boo. It's already in there. I got you." Because believe it or not, I tell people the success of my business is really dependent on my husband. If my husband is not happy, the kids are not happy, I'm not happy, then I can't even give to my business and everybody around me. And so, like, actually knowing that your best friend will always be your best friend. We hate to break it to you, but the kids are going to leave someday.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you got to go on with that. You got to be intentional. I love that. Okay. So besides that, what is one mommy hack besides calendar? What's one mommy hack you say would have has helped you overall?
Batch cooking.
Why are we
Batch.
twins? Why
I
are
see.
we
I see.
twins?
You. People can't
Why
see
are
us, so
we
they don't
twins?
see you when you dance. They don't see me when I dance neither.
I know, right? They can't tell. We're literally like raising the
Yes.
roof and dance in the
Yes.
background.
Batch cooking is the success. I mean, and you can pay to get it done, and nothing wrong with that. You choose what you love doing and what you hate doing. I like cooking, but I
Hmm.
know that I cannot do it every day. So I batch whenever I have energy. It could be on a Friday or a Saturday or on a Sunday. I just look at my husband. I'm like, keep your kids away from me, and I take like 2 to 3 hours and I knock it all out. And because
Yep.
for me, when we have food, I feel like we're when we have food, I feel like we're good. When
Okay.
we eat out, when we choose to eat out, I feel like we're good. But when we're eating out every time out of necessity, it really makes me feel like I don't have a handle on my home/work situation.
Right.
So batch cooking,
And
hands
that's the
down.
thing, right? Cooking is not for everybody, but I
Mm-mm.
actually love cooking. It's like a science to me. Okay, put a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and voila, you got this yum out the door.
Invite me over.
Okay. I've actually been thinking of maybe even doing a jollof rice party because my jollof are like
Oh,
it's well known. It
oh.
it has a reputation of its own.
So I stopped using bouillon cubes a couple months ago.
Hmm.
So, my jollof
Okay.
rice game, we can talk about that in another
Okay. Okay.
episode.
Okay.
But
Okay.
like my just health wise is what I
Ah.
want to say. But I'm just like, my jollof rice used to be even more elite. Now it's like micro elite, but I need to like work on my stock
You just keep working on
business.
it,
Yes, yes,
like that's a
yes.
good thing about cooking. And to be honest, we're both Africans. I don't know if you can tell. And one of the ways we cook, at least I was taught to cook, was not by measurements. We're literally a
Yes.
dash of this, a dash of that.
Yeah.
The reason why that's bad is because it's hard to teach other people.
Mhm.
That's number
Yeah.
one. But the reason why it's good is you literally can. It's almost literally practice makes perfect. So you can
It is. It
you
is.
can practice it till it's perfect. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay. And then my very last question for you. What's your favorite quote?
This is going to sound very cliche, but every time I tell myself everything is figure outable.
I
And the reason
totally
why
get
is
you.
because it stops me from circle. Actually, maybe I'll cheat. I'll say two things.
You can
One
say the other
is,
one.
it stops me and it helps me refocus and starts looking for a solution. And the reason why is I read this quote recently that said successful people spend 5% of their time on the problem and 95% of the solution on the solution. So when I think about everything is figure outable, it forces me to stop thinking about the problem and
Mhm.
forces me to start finding the solution. And that's a 95% of the time that I have to spend on finding solutions.
I'm like literally cheesing from ear to ear
I
because
am
I
too.
literally felt like I just met my best friend. Sorry, bestie.
We're both like smiling silly.
All right. So before we round up the interview today, can you tell me a little bit more about your business and some practical things you do for moms? Because you have such an amazing business, and I just want people to get with you, and also how they can get a hold of you if they need to.
Absolutely. So what I do is I'm a certified life coach, and I use that. And the reason why I became certified life coach is because of how important I was finding that coming up in my money coaching with people. So what I do is I work with women one on one, and usually over the course of 3 months, where we sit down and we identify where they are. And I call it going from financially overwhelmed to becoming financially confident. That's what I do. I want women to stop living from paycheck to paycheck, and I want
Amen.
women to stop feeling financially overwhelmed. Because what happens when we're financially confident isn't that we now know every single thing, but it means that we believe we can learn anything, right? And we know that when we empower women, when women have the power of choice, they literally can change the world. So I totally believe in this mission. It's not like even BS. Like, it's every fiber of my body believes that women should be empowered and women can be empowered. And when women have money, the world has money. So I take all of that and I sit down with women and figure out what exactly are they struggling with. Most times people think it's a numbers problem, but 80% of the time it's actually a mindset problem. So we go into things like, why do you want to have money? Figuring out your whys. We figure out what your stumbling blocks are and we work on that. And it's amazing. Sometimes I find out that people don't have money because they don't like themselves or
Right.
they don't love themselves. So I call it, it's like figuring out your money, but it's from the inside out. And what I find is a lot of times we actually end up spending maybe 70% talking about those underlying, we build your blocks, and then you see people flourish, and it's amazing and it's beautiful. And yeah, it's great. I really, really love it. And the way they can find me is I go by MoneyFitMD, MoneyFitMD, and that's my website where I'm offering a free consultation for anybody that's interested. I call it a Stop the Overwhelm session.
Okay.
Yes, yes, and I mean it's just great stuff. You can find me on my website, and you can also find me on Gmail, moneyfitmd@gmail.com.
And can I just tell you how much I love that name? Like y'all know I used to be an idea to see, and I think name matters. This is so amazing, guys. If you want to get money fit, okay, you don't have to just stay and just think about it. One thing Dr. Latifat said was that successful people spend most of their time working on the solution. So if you feel like you're just not where you need to be, the first thing I think you need to do is actually have the awareness. In our program, we talk about the importance of being aware, and that's what a coach helps you do. A coach helps you let you know what's going on with you, helps you be aware of whatever situation, even things you didn't know subconsciously that may be affecting you. So go ahead and hit my girl, the Money Fit MD, and she will help you out. So with that said, this has been another fantastic episode. I know you guys will love it. Thank you for joining us for another inspiring episode of LollieTasking. We will have the show information and Dr. Latifa's contacts and all the books that we talked about and apps we talked about in the show notes. Don't forget to follow us on IG at LollieTaskCar and on Facebook at LollieTasking. Till next time, remember you can do it too with some planning, a little bit of balance, and a dash of determination. This is LollieTasking.
Thanks for hanging out with us in another inspiring episode of LollieTasking. If you have any questions or topics you would like for us to discuss, please contact me via LollieTasking.com, or better yet, you could just send me a direct message on Instagram at LollieTasker. If you've liked what you've heard today, what are you waiting on? Just go ahead and click that subscribe button, rate, and leave a great review on iTunes. And of course, do share with your friends. Till next time, this is LollieTasking.